If we ask ourselves, can we keep the internet free, open and decentralized? The answer is obviously yes. What would stop us? That's the more interesting question.
The internet is no longer just a communication system. It's also a control network.
Infrastructure impacts the way the internet feels and looks to users tremendously.
In an instant, the internet reshaped our world to go from information scarcity to information overload. Analog skills are no longer enough to guarantee success in business. We must reshape our data strategically, keep the good, spot the bad, and block the malicious. The digital revolution is presenting new challenges as well as new freedom. Algorithms are making more decisions for us, from what we watch on Netflix to who we date. But who controls the algorithms that shape our public discussion and our individual realities? Our freedoms need defending in this hyper-digitalized world. But what does freedom even mean in this digital age? Maybe freedom isn't about being able to do whatever we want online. Maybe it's about digital democracy. The idea to really participate and not be ruled by unseen forces.
There are many people who would agree or would believe that what Google is doing is limiting freedom of expression on certain topics. In 2018, we had an update called what the SEO community called the MEDIC update, where they say, you know what, there's a new set of criteria for what we're looking for in terms of scientific and medical consensus, and what you're publishing goes against that. When we started to analyze the data, we noticed this is predominantly affecting health and medical websites. Let's say chiropractors, people that were writing about natural remedies, lost SEO visibility. SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it is the process of affecting or optimizing a website to appear higher in the organic search results on whatever search engine you're focused on, which is predominantly Google around the world.
Though chiropractors can work without websites, not having one will impact their business. The internet's physical evolution matters too. Servers, cables, and networks enable our digital lives. This physical infrastructure is the basis of our freedom to live and do business, just as much as software and code.
Infrastructure impacts the way the internet feels and looks to users tremendously. If you wind back by 20 years or so, the average web page was maybe a megabyte in size that arrived on your browser, and it was mostly text and had a few images, and it had some design applied to it. If you're looking at a modern page that relies on the reactive web, massive amounts of image data, live playing videos that are coming in over your connection the moment the page opens, the ability to interact with content, vote, provide feedback, get aggregated statistics on other users' opinions back in real time.
But how does the modern internet work? It may seem like a unified system, but really it's millions of computers that are interconnected. When you go to a website, your computer needs to find the server that hosts that specific website. And to do that, your computer needs access to a domain name server.
In the context of internet freedom, DNS plays a critical role. It's a centralized system. There's only a few entities that control the root servers of the DNS. At the same time, it's decentralized.
Centralized yet decentralized, the DNS is quite nuanced. It's important to understand how it works because governments and companies are using it to control access to content. Essentially, the DNS acts like a librarian finding books. Imagine you want to read a book. Instead of finding the book yourself, you have a magical librarian who fetches the book for you. The librarian has to journey to a different part of the library to get the book. Once they find it, they travel back and bring it to you. In the digital world, when you enter a website address into your browser, you're making a request to view that website's content. Just like the librarian, your request travels across the internet. It goes through various servers to find the correct location of the website's content. which can be on a server anywhere in the world. The content of the website is fetched from the specific server where it's stored. So this is just like when the librarian finds you the right book to read. It's like they're finding you the right content. Now let's add a twist that relates to internet freedom. Now imagine the librarian has the power to choose which books you're allowed to read and which you're not allowed to read at all. They might hide certain books for you or only allow you to read specific ones. There's a debate over controlling the DNS and content online. Some companies and governments could control and censor content, but what about internet freedom? So this is where it becomes interesting. Who is telling the librarian what to show you or not? Who is telling the librarian whether they should hurry or if they should help someone else first?
Sony took Quad9 to court in Germany to essentially get Quad9 to block access to one particular domain, a website. It was a torrent website running out of Africa somewhere. Sony was successful. In a German court, the Quad9 now has to block that one particular domain name. It's interesting because Quad9 is a Swiss organization serving international customers around the world. So now this German court can define what the Swiss company can do for their international users.
The internet doesn't have a global legal system. This is a good example of a German court reaching beyond its borders. It shows just how difficult it is to regulate an inherently borderless technology like the internet.
The DNS isn't the ideal point of control because, for example, domain names on the internet are often shared. By blocking the DNS, it doesn't mean that the content isn't accessible because it is still there. It's like when you remove a number from the phone book, you can still call the number, you just have to know it. And there's other means how you could get the number. You can just ask another agent. And you probably have enough energy to go on YouTube and look for a 2-minute video of how to do that. So it's not an effective measure even. And a more effective measure would be to actually remove the offending content. Adopt the position that DNS blocking is a good measure, then you run the risk of compartmentalizing the internet.
The most extreme example of DNS blocking is China's Great Firewall. But many countries are looking to use DNS blocking to fight malicious content online, like child pornography or anti-piracy campaigns to stop the sharing of movies and music. A worrying narrative has emerged with the discussion of Iran and Russia looking to take control of their country's domains. This would let governments bypass courts and enable manipulation of DNS records, allowing for website falsification and content censorship within that portion of the internet's namespace. DNS blocking could restrict digital trade and business, both locally and internationally.
The internet is no longer just a communication system. It's also a control network in which all of these things are connected and in which battles over control of the infrastructure serves as a proxy for political power.
If a country were to take control of its domain identifiers, such localization would splinter the internet. So who actually decides if Russia or Iran could do this? Is it big tech? Is it governments? Or is it several independent agencies that democratically oversee various parts of the internet? We'll find out in the next episode.